Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Christy Lukasiak. You may remember me from a little show called Dance Moms. So maybe I'm Dance Moms Christy or Christy from Dance Moms or Chloe's mom. I feel like I say the same thing at the beginning of every video, don't I? Kind of ish, but that's really not my intro. I'm also Clara's mom and I'm also just Christy. So actually today I am Storyteller Christy, because in light of the fact that I have spoken to so many college sororities this year, and I've talked to so many seniors and so many women joining like the workforce, I thought it would be kind of fun to share a story that I don't think many of you know. And maybe I'm just telling this story to give you like a little bit of, I don't want to say inspiration, but a little bit of like validation that you will be okay in life, because this is the story of my very first job. And I don't mean job, like my very first job, I was a babysitter, but like my first job, I worked at Sparrow, like, you know, the pizza place in Monroeville Mall, like the black visor was very tragic, that place. Circa, I feel like 1993, which is before Monroeville Mall was terrifying. It's terrifying now. But this is not that story. This is the story of my very first big girl job. So went to college, graduated, you know, I had a degree in marketing communications, and I thought for some reason I got it into my head my senior year that I wanted to work in finance. I don't know why. I would love to go back and be like, okay, Christy, were you drinking one night and you decided this was a good idea? Did you what? Oh my God, wait. I just had like a flashback. I had a repressed memory. Okay, I watched when Stella got her groove back, and she was like this bad bitch, like financier person. Maybe that's where my inspo came from. I don't know. But anyway, so I got this big idea that I was gonna work in finance. So I studied second semester my senior year, you know, to take the Series 6, which basically allows you to work in like variable life insurance type things. But then I was like, you know what? I wanna be a stockbroker. I'm gonna get my Series 7. I don't, again, know why I did this, but I was like, no, I'm smart enough. So I studied, and the Series 7 is like no joke. Like, it is not a joke test. It's mandated by the SEC, and it's administered in like a very secure location, all of these things. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be a stockbroker, blah. So I went, I took the test, I passed. I actually got a really good score on it, even though I just screwed that up. And I was hired by an investment firm in Pittsburgh. Here I am, 22, and I can literally remember like shopping at the mall, looking for whatever like skirted business suit I could find for women. Like, this is how long ago it was, because I had to wear like a business suit to work, not like two pieces like this. It had to be a matching top and bottom. And I can remember like shopping and being like 22 with like really unfortunate shoulder pads. I remember plucking my eyebrows into like the skinniest lines possible. 90s, don't make that same mistake, guys. And I remember like going to work and being a nervous wreck, because I was the only woman in the entire office who wasn't a secretary. And then they did hire someone else, and she was a little bit older than me. But again, I was like 22, and I was like this young college, you know, graduate, and I was like trying to like make it in the world. And I would sit in these meetings and I would be like, okay, I know what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. But I quickly realized how much I literally hated this job. It was terrible. Like, I had to do all this cold calling, and I had to try to like convince people to invest money with me, and just, oh my God. I think back to how many times I stood on the toilet in a bathroom stall hiding as I was sobbing, because I hated it. And I didn't want to quit, because everyone I knew, and this is back before like Instagram, even Twitter, like people only had Facebook back then. Everyone I knew was thriving, you know, in their first jobs. And I was just so friggin' miserable. Not to mention, like, my skirts were down to my knees. Like, it was so off brand for me. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna make it in this world. And it just goes to show like how dumb it is to think like, I'm gonna force myself to do something that I hate, like I'm gonna stick it out. And I stuck it out for maybe, I wanna say about 11 months. And then I actually was recruited to work in sales for a health insurance company, which I ended up being great at, and I made a ton of money. And so it was like, I went through this awfulness and I suffered through it, and it was miserable because I was afraid to quit because, you know, I didn't want to fail at my first job because I was comparing myself to everyone else and I was making myself miserable. I can't even imagine what my life would have been like had I tried to stick that out. Like, it would have been 20 years later and I would have been still miserable. So I guess the moral to the story is, if you're trying to make something work that just doesn't work, don't be afraid to quit and pivot and do something different, because you will be much, much happier. And I guarantee you, whatever you spent your time doing in that first year or whatever that you end up leaving and quitting and changing, it will be something that you use at some point in your life. It really will. It always is. For the last 20 years, every time I talked about being a stockbroker, I kind of mocked it because I failed. Like, I failed at my first job. But the moral is, when I started my Adulting 101 program last year, which, P.S., you totally need to be following that on Instagram. I give so much good information about like all these things that you need to know in order to be an effective adult. But I started teaching online classes. And some of those classes are things like understanding your credit, or how to rent an apartment, or investment basics. And the thing I use more than anything else in that program is everything I learned 20 years ago when I was a stockbroker. So didn't waste my time. It just took me a minute to figure out like where it fit in my life. So that's the moral. You will always take something away from everything you do. So that is my very unfortunate very first job. I was miserable. Don't be a stockbroker if you are meant to be a reality show person. I'm just saying, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. It's like too off-brand. I hope you enjoyed my story. I don't know. I don't do story times very often, but I thought that one was kind of fun. So as you go into your first jobs, everyone, if it doesn't work out for you, don't be afraid to pivot. It's so much easier to change your mind at 22 than 44. So that's your little mom wisdom for the day. All right, well, comment below and let me know if you like story times, if you want to hear more things like this. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on those post notifications, and I will see you next week. Bye.